Hello, I'm Terry Martin. Thanks for joining us. U.S. President Joe Biden says he's made real progress in talks with China's leader Xi Jinping. They met for 4 hours during a summit of Asia-Pacific nations in San Francisco, their first encounter in person in a year. Both leaders say they want to improve strained relations between the two superpowers. They announced new cooperation in areas including narcotics, AI, and avoiding military misunderstandings. There are still tensions over trade and China's territorial claims on Taiwan. Biden stressed the importance of stability in the Taiwan Strait. The U.S. president said that America and China would try to communicate better, both diplomatically and personally.
We're reassuming military-to-military contacts, direct contacts. As a lot of you press know who follow this, that's been cut off, and it's been very worrisome. That's how accidents happen, misunderstandings. So we're back to direct, open, clear, direct communications on a direct basis. And in the months ahead, we're going to continue to preserve and pursue high-level diplomacy at the PRC in both directions to keep the lines of communication open, including between President Xi and me. He and I agreed that each one of us could pick up the phone, call directly, and would be heard immediately.
For more on this, let's bring in journalist Fabian Kretschmer. He joins us from Beijing. And here in Berlin, we have DW's William Glucroft. Welcome to you both. William, let's start with you. President Biden went into this meeting trying to mend strained ties with China. How far did he get with that?
Well, as Biden himself said after this meeting, trust but verify, that old, almost cliche expression from foreign policy circles. Expectations were very low. It was expected, given talks and dialogue going into this meeting, that this reestablishment of military-to-military contacts and high-level direct contacts between the two leaders would be reestablished. That's a small step, but it should not be underestimated how important that step is, because as we heard in that clip from Joe Biden, accidents can happen. It wouldn't be the first time that two countries faced a crisis due to simple miscommunication. So just having that literally a phone call away to clarify things is important, and it's especially important given how differently the United States and China view the world, which just opens up that much more possibility for miscommunication. So that alone is something of a success for Biden. But again, as he said, time will tell just how committed the two sides are to making good on some of the promises they talked about in this meeting.
Fabian, how constructive were these talks from a Chinese perspective?
Yeah, quite constructive. All the signs that I'm hearing are rather positive. Just after the meeting, Foreign Minister Wang Yi in San Francisco stepped in front of the press and described the talks as very well. I mean, they went very well, quote unquote. And also, if you look at the rhetoric of Xi Jinping, it was quite accommodating, I would say. For example, he said that China has no plan to surpass the US, and that the world is big enough to accommodate both countries. And then later, when he had the dinner with Biden, he also mentioned that China is willing to be a partner and a friend of the US. I know this is rhetoric, and we will have to see whether China will also deliver when it comes to actions, but I would say it's quite a good sign. And one other indicator is that during the Q&A that President Biden gave towards the press, he called Xi Jinping a dictator. Now, that could have blown up here and getting picked up by state media in China, but so far I haven't seen that. So I guess they don't want to spoil the mood and ruin the party.
William, the two leaders also talked about Taiwan. Plenty of potential there for ruining the party. It's one of the most explosive issues in relations between the U.S. and China. What came out of that discussion about Taiwan, William?
Right. It is a major pressure point between the two sides. The readout from the White House was extensive. I mean, these readouts are usually, a paragraph or two long. This was an essay and just a laundry list of issues, of which Taiwan really only occupied a couple sentences. Nonetheless, it was an opportunity for the two leaders to just face-to-face say where their red lines are. And that's what's important here, is red lines. It's not that there's going to be peace. It's not that either side is going to get their way vis-a-vis Taiwan or any other issue. It's an understanding of where the red lines are to avoid those kinds of miscommunications that we were talking about earlier. And it seems, at least, while the status quo hasn't changed, Biden is sticking to the one China policy that's been long-term policy for the United States, and Xi has stuck to his vision that one day Taiwan will be part of mainland China. At least the two sides staked out their claims to each other and what their limits are to help going forward, that there will not be those kinds of miscommunications, those potential clashes that could lead to something very disastrous in the Taiwan Straits.
So, an important face-to-face meeting between the two leaders, the opening up of direct military communications between the two countries, all sounds quite good. Fabian, can we expect more face-to-face talks like this going forward?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, one of the results that was announced was also more human-to-human exchanges. Of course, you can apply that on the political level, but also there will be more student exchanges between the US and China, more direct flights. I mean, this is really important after those 3 years of isolation that China had behind itself, also because of the pandemic, but then later also because of political reasons. It's important that the two sides talk again, as to prevent any escalation. We've seen that in the major conflicts, we cannot find any solutions, but I don't think this can be the goal. I mean, the discrepancies in issues like Taiwan, human rights are so stark that they seem unsolvable at this point. But at least both sides now have demonstrated that they probably can talk more constructively or manage those discrepancies in a more constructive way. And I'm expecting actually that there will be more communication. And I think also for the international community, this is good news.